Foreword. It was a day in January 1996 that Yu Ki Nyut, president of Theravada Buddhist organization, Myanmar Deputy Minister of Religious Affairs, retired, came to see me on behalf of Yu Hsien Loong, ex-president of Myanmar. They had worked together in their respective capacities in the previous governments of Myanmar in the cause of purification and propagation of Theravada Buddhism. Yu Hsien Loong was greatly interested in the works of the late Venerable Bhadanta Janaka Bhim Vamsa of Amarapura, especially treatises meant for lay devotees. He was particularly eager to have the work entitled Abhidhamma in Daily Life to be titled into English. He fully believed that an English translation of the book would facilitate wide circulation of the good advices given by the noble author for the welfare and happiness of mankind. Yu Hsien Loong was assured of financial and other help needed for the translation and publication of the translated book by his good Dharma friend Yu Chu Hsien of 290 EU Wisara Road, Yangon, who already had donated a Dewi Dana hospital for Buddhist monks in Mandalay, and who was also a devoted Daiyaka ally supporter of the venerable author of Abhidhamma in Daily Life. Two of them, after envisaging the translation project, approached the 5 Anayaka Sayadaws who form the board of trustee of the late Sayadaw's works and are in charge of the Mahagandarama monastery of Amarapura. Upon informing the board of trustee Theras of their intention, they were told of a previous proposal by a lecturer of Yangon University while the author was still alive. The author did not approve of the proposal at that time, as he felt doubtful whether the translation could be faithful to the substance and mood of what he would like to convey. The trustee Theras, however, did not object to the present project and gave them full permission for translation, provided it would reproduce the great Sayadaw's expositions, as well as the style, the language, and the tone in which they are rendered. The project appeared to have been started about 5 years ago, 1992, the original translation being undertaken by Kaba I Yu Chit Tin and Yu Han Hattai, retired officials of the Department of Religious Affairs. Yu Ki Nyut showed me the bulky bundle of translation manuscript and made the request to me on behalf of Yu Hsien Loong and Yu Chu Hsien to edit the translation and give necessary assistance for its publication. Yu Ki Nyut was well acquainted with my literary commitments and preoccupations. Since 1989, I have been engaged in translating into English the 6 volumes in 8 books of the Great Chronicle of Buddhas in Myanmar, which is based on the Pali text Buddha Vamsa and written by the most venerable Mingun Sayadaw I am also working as a guest professor at the State Pariyati Sasana University, Kaba Yangon. In spite of his understanding of my position, Yu Ki Newt pressed on me the task of editing the manuscript, writing the biography of the author and the necessary foreword, saying that he wanted to give the assurance to the trustee Sayadaws and Yu Shen Win that the translated book represents a faithful rendering of the author's work in English. I had but to accept his entreaties with the proviso that I would have an assistant of mine go through the translation manuscript first before I would do the review with him as a final editorial supervision. The young assistant was the late Yu Kin Myang Ki, graduated of the military academy with a master's degree in English literature and also with a master's degree in journalism from Chicago. I was coaching him to succeed me as a translator of Myanmar treatises on Buddhism authored by illustrious Myanmar Theras. But alas, an unfortunate fatal car accident on a journey back from Pien U Lwin to Yangon dashed all our hopes and plans for future literary works together. Yu Kin Ki left behind him a complete draft of the corrected translation manuscript, which he had gone through with some meticulous care, but over which he had no opportunity to discuss, deliberate and decide together. I had no alternative but to eke out my scarce free moments to go over the whole translation again by myself. Although the initial translation and editing of this work had been undertaken by respective writers, as stated above, the final redaction has been carried out entirely by myself. I alone am responsible for any shortcomings that may be found in the final published work. The burden of bringing this book out had been thrust into my hand by my good Dharma friend Yu Ki Newt, but I am pleased to say that I have looked upon it and undertaken it as a labour of love, devotion and merit. After all, the most venerable Sayadaw was no stranger to me. In my last years at the high school in Sagyeng, I kept hearing about this upcoming Sayadaw U Jana Ka Pi Wamsa of Mahagandarama Monastery of Amarapura, which was just across the river from our Tanguan ward in Sagyeng. He had been bringing out student handbooks on Pali grammar and numerous sub-commentaries on Pitaka texts for guidance and assistance to novices and bhikkhus who were studying the Tipitaka in various monasteries all over Myanmar. Preparing myself for examinations held annually by the state and many religious organizations. The first book specially written for lay devotees appeared in 1293 ME 1932, when he was at the age of 32 and had been in the order for 13 years. It was Ratana Gonyi, the attributes of the three jewels, which deals with incomparable virtues of the Buddha, his teaching, the Dhamma, and his disciples, the Sangha. It has gone through over 12 editions. I still have the copy of the first edition given me as a gift by a nun who was supported by my parents, and I still remember the words she said: "Read this book, Kole, carefully all the time to become a devoted Buddhist." Ratana Gon Ye is the first of the three most popular books written by the Sayadaw, especially for the lay disciples whom he so ardently desired to understand the attributes of the Buddha. The essence of his teaching had to put into daily practice the exhortations of the Master. The second book, Ko Kyunt Abhidhamma, Abhidhamma in Daily Life, was first published in 1294 ME 1933 and has gone through 13 editions of January 1995. Of the three Pitakas consisting of Vinaya, Suttanta and Abhidhamma, the last Pitaka, Abhidhamma, is the most abstruse, the most difficult one, dealing as it does with the absolutes, the ultimate truths. Its subject matter requires deep, careful study, guided by competent teachers, and belongs to the sphere of learning of bhikkhus and nuns who have devoted their lives to pursue the pariyatti studies. Nevertheless, as it forms the core of the Buddha's teaching, it is essential that every devoted follower of the teacher should have a basic understanding of the Abhidhamma and should be able to make use of the essential exhortation in all their dealings in daily life. Out of great compassion for the lay devotees, the Sayadaw had employed portions of his precious time in preparing an Abhidhamma treatise in Myanmar, intermixed with Suttanta teachings in easy, understandable language, ready for practical application to daily life. The third important book meant for the bhikkhus as well as the laity is an Agat Tatanye, The Future of Sasana, which was published in 1310 ME 1948, when he had become a senior Thera and gained mature experience as the head of a big institution, turning out future leaders of Buddhist religion. Intensely patriotic, full of novel ideas for developing Myanmar into a modern state, he finished writing this book on the eve of declaration of independence of Myanmar. He had outlined therein how Myanmar could achieve progress and prosperity through practical application of Buddha's teaching, and how Sasana could be maintained, purified and propagated through many new reformations he had proposed. I had the good fortune of becoming quite close to Sayadaw when I founded the University of Mandalay, the first one established in independent Myanmar, inspired by the same motives and same ideas of bringing up Myanmar to the modern era through education and through following basic principles of Buddhism. From 1947 till 1963, when I retired from the university service. I made many a trip to the Sayadaw's monastery to discuss with him on many educational and spiritual reforms which should be brought about in Myanmar and Myanmar society. Hence, when Yu Ki Nyut brought to me this task of bringing out the revered Sayadaw's book into English, it was not altogether a fresh assignment for me, but rather an activating of one of the many projects I used to discuss with the late author, whom I most respectfully revere and honour. Abhidhamma in Daily Life has been acclaimed as the best introduction to the Buddha's noble teaching, especially as a useful guide to the knowledge of Abhidhamma. The Venerable Sayadaw had written in a clear, effective style for the benefit of lay readers as well as for serious scholars. This English version, I hope, will provide basic Buddhism not only for academic knowledge, but also to help one to become a good person in daily life. I have kept close to the original as far as possible in the matter of substance, the style of presentation, and use of simple language. I venture to hope that my task may prove useful to all who are wishing to follow the path of righteousness in their daily life. May the noble wishes of the revered author, namely supreme peace and happiness for all, be accomplished throughout the world. Yu Ko Le, Guest Professor, State Pariyati Sasana University, Kaba Ai, Yangon, Myanmar. The full moon day of Tagu, 1359 ME, 22nd April 1997.